It was the last night of October, a dingy, dismal sort of night. A lonely owl hooted dingily and dismally through the darkness. Spid looked out of his window, but there was nothing to see. No moonlight tonight, no stars. Thick cloud had turned the black sky even blacker. Perhaps there was a storm brewing. Creepy, Spid thought, and he shivered. It was enough to make the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end, except that he didn't have a neck, so there couldn't be any hairs on it. He drew his curtains and threw another log on the fire. Well, Spid, he said to himself, I've never known Halloween to feel quite so Halloweeny. It was the time of year when Spidlings read stories of ghoulies and ghosties. Spid picked up the book he'd borrowed from the Spider Webden Mobile Library. It was called The Legend of Wookey Hollow, a horror story for Halloween. He looked at the cover doubtfully and rather wished Bid was with him. Perhaps reading a spooky book all by himself on the halloweeniest Halloween he could remember wasn't the best idea. But then he reminded himself that the mobile library had broken down yesterday before it reached Spider Webden. It was only because Mrs. Spidding Goodread pedalled the rest of the way on a bicycle with a large basket of books balanced on her handlebars that he'd borrowed one at all. So, down Spid sat in his comfy armchair and wrapped a blanket around himself. Silly old Spid, he thought. It's just a book. He opened the cover and began to read. It was Halloween, a festival that marks the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter, a time to remember those who have died, including saints, also called hallows, and martyrs, a time when evil spirits come out to play. At Halloween, the boundary between this world and the spirit world is supposed to grow thin, so spirits or fairies can more easily step from their world into ours to wander the earth. Spidlings sometimes fill bowls with food and place them outside their homes to make sure ghosts don't come in. Spidlings also believe that if they light bonfires and dress up in fierce-looking animal and monster costumes, they'll be able to frighten the spirits away. Ooh, Spid murmured to himself. This is quite spooky, Spid. Although some would say Spidlings look scary enough without having to dress up in scary costumes. Spid pulled his blanket a little more tightly around himself and read on. It was a dingy, dismal night in the woods of Wookey Hollow.